Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cool Stuff, etc. This is the Q2 2026 music update. It's later than I anticipated or intended it to be, and that's okay. We do these things for fun, so sometimes fun things can happen late. Anyway, let's get into it. First, to start, the fave re-listens. I have 3 albums to share with you. Some a little bit older, some fairly new. So let's get into it. First off, this is a newer one. This is from 2025. This is Bleeds by Wednesday. I would call this a bit of a mixture of shoegazy alt-rock, indie rock, as well as country, alt-country. Some songs are entirely one genre and other songs are entirely the other, and many of the songs combine them together. Things I love about this album in particular are the lyrics. They are very evocative of the imagery of small town life in America. One of my favorite passages or lines is from the song Wound Up Here by Holding On, which is probably my favorite song on the album. And it's the part where she sings, you saw a pit bull puppy pissing off a balcony. And aside from just how specific that is as an image, I also enjoy the alliteration there. It just has a very good mouthfeel to sing that. Not much else to say. I just think the songs are really killer. They're super catchy, super fun, and high energy. Lots of thick distortion, and like I said, lots of catchy hooks and great lyrical moments. I have nothing but good things to say about this album, and I would give it a 9 out of 10, and it could even climb higher the more I listen to it. I really have been listening to this thing to death, so. Next up, this is a bit of an older one. From '05, this is Commit This to Memory by Motion City Soundtrack. This is, I guess I would say it's a pop punk album. It's not pop punk like a Blink-182 or a New Found Glory, like where it's sort of too shiny and bubbly, you know. This is more of the punky side of things, and that's what I like about it, in part. Very much lyrically centered in, like, big city living, which is kind of funny compared to the other album. This to me feels like, you know, you're living in New York and you're going to house parties and stuff, and, all that kind of stuff. But it also reflects on getting older, dealing with, problems, anxieties, etc., etc. Another album with great lyrical moments. I love the song Resolution, and Let's Get Fucked Up and Die, obviously, is a banger. Really, every song on this album is a banger. I would not skip any of them. And they flow together so perfectly, especially Make Out Kids into Time Turned Fragile. I love that. I just got the LP, and it drives me up the wall that's where the sides split. Because if you listen to it digitally or on the CD, those songs just go, like it's seamless. And the fact that on the record, you have to turn this, like the song Make Out Kids ends, and you gotta turn the side over and then play it. It kind of drives me a little crazy. I guess it makes sense to some degree, but I think it would be better if they could have just had it, But it would have messed up with the flow of the album, and there's constraints onto how much you can fit on one side of a record. So I get that, but this is an album that is just phenomenal. I have a funny story about it, actually. When I was still on Twitter, this is probably 2 years ago, I saw 2 tweets within the span of a couple days about like 10 out of 10 albums. And the quote tweets were this album and Rise Against. Their first album, I think, like Siren Songs of the Revolution or something like that. Counterculture. And I listened to both of them just on a whim. And I really despised the Rise Against album. And I loved this album. And I fully agree. It's a 10. This is a 10. Easy 10. I love this album so much. I have not listened to anything else by this band. I really should rectify that, but it's just like I think part of the reason I have it is just because I've just loved this record since I've heard it. So, yeah, give this one a listen for sure. And then the next album, this is another album that I really, really enjoyed when it first came out, and it's one of the first albums I listened to that was in that sort of extreme metal scene or vein. Trumpeting Ecstasy by Full of Hell. Excuse my lisp there. Yeah, this album is just crazy. It says grindcore, but there's certainly elements of death metal in the songwriting, and elements of noise as well. You know, really, the album just from the get go, like with the like sort of pitch shifted Werner Herzog quote up to the end, the last song, called At the Cauldron's Bottom, like all of that is it's so contained, it's so succinct of a vision of just like hellish insanity. You have great songs on here, like the opener. Oh my gosh, it's escaping my brain. What is it called? Shit. What is this called? Oh, well, the opener. Oh, it's called Illuminate. That's right there. Sorry. My brain's not working. Crawling Back to God. It's a great song. It's actually probably the catchiest song on the album. And then, of course, Trumpeting Ecstasy is sort of an interlude. It's a very different song relative to the rest of the record. And it's actually was my introduction to Nicole Dollinger, who's become a favorite artist of mine as well. And so she has, her vocals are kind of set above this, like, repetitive, industrial, kind of like smashing sound. And she sings this very haunting melody. Perhaps tomorrow your trumpets will sound. And then the middle of the song cuts to this highly distorted kick drum. And maybe, I actually don't fully know what it is, but it's highly distorted and very like that kind of thing. And then it goes back to Nicole's singing, and that to me is a highlight on the album. I love that song, but the rest of the album is great too. I would recommend it if you're trying to get into Full of Hell or just grindcore in general. It's actually not a bad place to start. I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's a great album. Alright, some new listens. I think I have about 15 albums to talk about. I'll try and be a little more succinct than I've already been. Or already haven't been, I should say. First up was Desaparecidos. Oh, and actually I meant to mention this. Go back. I meant to mention this. This is the first quarter that I have given all of these albums at least 3 listens each. I've been recording it. I have a little journal that I've been using. That's been really helpful for me, and it's helped me to not forget albums and give them some chances, So all of these albums have been listened to at least 3 times. That is my guarantee. Desaparecidos, Read Music, Speak Spanish from 2002. If you're not familiar, this is I guess you'd say it's a punk rock side project by Connor Oberst from Bright Eyes, but there are more people in the band, obviously. And so I think it's more of a collaboration with those people. This is a separate thing entirely. You can certainly tell the lyrics are written, at least in part. I don't know how much was shared, but at least in part by Connor Oberst. But the songs themselves, to my ear, don't really sound like Bright Eyes. Like, it's not Bright Eyes, but punk rock. It's its own thing, and it's very, very good. It sort of falls into the emo a little bit, which I enjoy. And it's very political, which I also think is cool. Bright Eyes is also a fairly political band, but I think that filtering their perception of the world into a punk rock space is very cool. So I would give this album an 8 out of 10. I am looking to buy it on CD, probably. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I want to give it some more listens, even beyond the 3 that I already did. So next up was They Are Gutting a Body of Water with the album Lotto. This is a band that I happened upon on YouTube. They had a live performance of their song The Chase, or maybe it was the music video of The Chase, and I really liked that song. It is sort of reminiscent of Slint, Spiderland, which I love that album as well. Sort of like spoken over, very heavy, sort of repetitive, hypnotic, distorted guitar with a lot of like squealy wheelies in there, or like a what is that called, a harmonic, I guess. And I'm sorry if you're hearing this beeping sound. Maybe you're not, but if you're hearing the doo 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 doo, something's going on with my shit, so I gotta figure that out. I've already started recording and I'm talking forever, so. And if you're not hearing it, then I probably sound like an insane person. The rest of the album, though, is not really like that. It's, to me, sort of formless, a little bit meandering. There are some good parts to it. There are some catchy parts, but yeah, that's just not quite what I was hoping for from what I had heard from The Chase. Not a bad album. I think that if you're into shoegaze, if you're into what would you call those, like tape loops or tape manipulation kind of sounding, especially later on the album, there's, I actually think American Food is one of those songs, where it kind of has like a, not a plunderphonics, what would you call that? Like, I don't know. It's I don't know. It is an interesting album, just not really for me. So maybe plunderphonics is the right word, but anyway, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. I like it. I probably will not go back to it anytime soon, but maybe later down the line I'd like to hear some more from it. Next up, we have Figure from Into It Over It. I've been going through their discography, and this is the last full length, I believe, until they release a new one. I heard later this year or next year, early next year. There's still plenty more music for me to listen to from this band, but they're all compilations and stuff, I think. So, unfortunately, this is my least favorite Into It Over It release that I've heard thus far. Not that it's bad, I still think it's got a lot of quality there, but just missing some things that I loved about their early stuff. One, of course, is that it's a little on the softer side. And Into It Over It has always had some songs that are on the softer side, but this whole album kind of feels that way to me. It's kind of losing like the like almost punkish, speed. Not speed even maybe is the word, but yeah, I don't know. Nothing. Every time I listen to it, nothing really stands out to me. Nothing really sticks in my brain, and that was not the case with Proper or Intersections or even many parts of Standards. So I don't love it, but I do like it. It's still Into It Over It. I still would give it a 7 out of 10. That might be a little bit generous, but I'm guessing this one will kind of grow on me as time passes. I'll give it some more listens, and we'll see how I feel about it. But yeah, definitely not my favorite of their albums. And then sort of tied to Into It Over It, this is a band called Up Down Down, Left Right BA Start. And that one's called Nothing Is Number One. It's from 2003. And this band has been covered by Into It Over It on a couple of EPs or compilations that I saw on their Bandcamp. And so I was interested to hear what they sounded like, because, a band covering one song from a band, it might just be like, oh, I like this song. But they covered, several songs by this band. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And people in the reviews were saying this is like a classic of like the emo revival. This is like, someone even said like this is emo revival before that was even a term. So I gave it a listen. I gave it several listens, I should say. And I wasn't crazy about it, if I'm being totally honest. I think the production is cool, and a lot of the not a lot, but some of the musical moments can be very affecting. They have some nice like rough distortion, and they kind of go back and forth between that and later guitar moments. They have a lot of drumming that's very acrobatic, as you might say, and like those. I don't know. Musically, I think there's, or I should say, instrumentally, there's a lot of good stuff here. But my biggest problem is probably like the melodies. They're not very catchy. They're not very, I don't know, evocative. And mixing that with like these just like painfully, awfully teenage lyrics, like some of the songs on here have just like the most eye rolling stuff you'll ever hear. And yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I don't think it's terrible. I still give it a 6 out of 10. That might be generous as well. um, yeah, okay. Sort of continuing the emo stuff. Ben Quad released a new album late last year that I didn't know about, and I'm a fairly average sized Ben Quad fan. I think that they're quite good. I like their last album. I have not listened to the EP they put out between this album and the previous one, but I am interested to hear it because I've heard that it's quite heavy and different for them, and they actually reference that on this album as well. So, but Ben Quad, if you're not familiar, they're sort of part of this current generation of emo bands. It's take it or leave it with a lot of them for me, but Ben Quad is one that I saw live. They opened up for Microwave a couple years ago in Grand Rapids, and I saw them, and I liked them enough. They were really cool. They had some catchy songs and stuff, and I think this is also just like more of the same from them, which isn't a bad thing if it's good, and it is good. There's definitely like quality here, but I think it will take some people, including myself, time to parse that quality from some of the like prominent emo cliches and stuff. I'm at an age where like, I don't know, singing about girls and relationships is just doesn't do it for me anymore. But like missing your friends and stuff like that, like that, I get that, like that resonates more with me. So I would probably give this a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 7. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's not bad for certain. It's just, more of the same. Next up, we have Truck Violence with the album Violence. These guys are Canadian noise rockers. And I would also say maybe like post-hardcore, a little bit of sludge metal maybe. And there's a healthy dose of bluegrass. They have some banjo throughout this thing, and that really can add to the sort of the like lighter moments when they sort of peel back the distortion and the heavy drums and the screaming. They're part of a subgenre of bands that I like to call dark poetry over very heavy ass riffs. Pig Destroyer is part of this subgenre as well. And yeah, they do it incredibly well. I really, really enjoyed this album. I think the vocals are going to be an acquired taste. He sort of, has this like spoken, lilting, drunken, sing-songy type, like, and it's pretty nasally, and the intonations can be a little off-putting. But I personally love how it sounds. I think there's so much range here in his vocal performance, and especially his like intense like vocal fry screams are really impactful. He uses that fairly sparsely, and so when it happens, it feels good. Feels good. And the banjo can seem gimmicky, but I think it really adds to the setting that the band are trying to evoke. The album is sort of blue collar, as you can tell from maybe the album cover and stuff. They're trying to bring to mind like living in poverty, maybe perhaps, and navigating that sort of thing. In all honesty, the lyrics are, since they're very poetic, they're a little hard to interpret, or they're a little open to interpretation, I should say. And yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of like thinking about them. They're interesting enough to like hook you, and then you have to kind of give it some more time to sort of process, and I still haven't probably given it enough time. But I would easily give this a 9 out of 10. This is a great album. I was truly listening to it like 2 to 3 times a week on my drives to work. It was just like that good. And this is going to be awarded... Hello? Album of the Quarter. It was supposed to do a thing. Oh. Album of the Quarter. I forgot I made it slow. That was supposed to be a funny joke. And I'm also blocking it anyway. God damn it. Okay, anyways. Album of the Quarter. I'll have to go back to the drawing board on this shit. Jesus, okay. Next up. This is Crippling Alcoholism's first album, When the Drugs That Made You Sick Are the Drugs That Make You Better. And this is more in line what I was expecting when I first listened to Cam Girl, which I talked about in the last video. And that album incorporates, dance pop and more synthy or synth wavy type stuff, which isn't bad. I actually like that album a lot, and I think it actually makes that album more interesting. But this album was more straightforward, more up my alley, and a little bit easier for me to digest, if that makes sense. So it's a more typical noise rock album with some like gothic elements thrown in there. So there's still a synth every now and again, and it really builds that like uneasy feeling that they are so good at, that like something is like coming to get you. Very menacing lyrics, very dark lyrics, but still catchy, and they stick in your brain. There's an album, or there's a song. Is it on Group Home when he has that little refrain about he's talking with his daughter, and she says, "Daddy, did you know we used to eat the wheat for food?" And he says, "Sweetie, we still do." And like, it's such a dark thing to say to your child, and he repeats it several times, and it just sticks in your brain. So yeah, the songs on here are great. What always has stuck out to me about this band is the drumming. They still kick ass. They're so impactful and booming and percussive. Very versatile across the whole record. So I like this album a lot. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think it would grow even more with repeat listens. Yeah, just great. Next up, we have Stuntman by Liquid Mike. I believe this is Liquid Mike's first album. And I listened to their album Hell is an Airport last quarter and really liked it. And just because the albums are so short and so digestible and quick and catchy, I was like, you know what? Let's listen to Liquid Mike, which is something I don't often do, meaning I don't listen to like more than one album by a band too quickly. But with Liquid Mike, it's sort of like candy, just like one of the... This album being their first, the songs are still great, actually. I can't say anything bad about the songwriting. It's a little bit more straightforward, like power pop punk, garagey stuff. A lot of the like kind of more experimental songwriting stuff that was on Hell is an Airport, like the song Selling Swords, for example, or the turntable record scratching on AT&T, that kind of thing, aren't present here, but it's still a great album. It's probably the second most listened one, I would say. Great songs. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10, easily. Then listen to A Beer Can and a Bouquet. This is another Liquid Mike album. And again, great songs. It didn't hit me at first. Actually, I'm glad that this video is a little late, because I would have given this a much lower rating if I hadn't listened to this the other day. and really got along with it. At first, I was like, okay, I think Snoozer and I'll Get Back to You are really the only songs that I would say I like, and I would say, Least Agreement's great. I think the opener Idaho is pretty good. All Hail the Ketamine Kids is great. God's Best Substitutes is so catchy. The chorus. So I think this is actually a really good Liquid Mike album. I would also give it a 7.5 out of 10. And then another Liquid Mike album. This is You Can Live Forever in Paradise on Earth. Oh, this one's really short. Even more so than their other albums. Sorry. Ooh. Only 7 tracks. I think it clocks in less than 15 minutes, in all honesty. But it does have my favorite Liquid Mike song on it, USPS. That song is a banger. It's good. It's a good album. It's not the one I would necessarily always go to first, but still good. Still that Liquid Mike seal of quality, seal of excellence. I give it a 7 out of 10. And then, from all this brightness, we go to probably the darkest, most oppressive album I've heard all year, which is Caustic by Primitive Man. They bill themselves as a death sludge outfit. I would say it's more sludge metal noise, doomy stuff, but I don't know, genres or whatever. I actually saw these guys live. They were playing with Napalm Death. I went with my buddy, and she got knocked in the face during Napalm Death. It was bleeding everywhere. It was cool. It was pretty cool. Primitive Man, I think the album doesn't quite do justice what they're doing when they're on stage, but I think it still is well produced and captures their dark atmosphere and the oppressive nature of modern life, modern living. It's very political, but it's still poetic. It's political in the sense that it deals directly with everyday problems of society, and I really liked this album. It's not going to be for everybody, not just because of how heavy it is and how off-putting it might be to some people, but it is super repetitive. The songs are incredibly long. There's a lot of time between changes in riffs and stuff. There's a few parts that kick up the pace and are more of a punk hardcore type thing, which is where the sludge metal moniker derives from. But it is still fairly I think the best word might be glacial. It moves like that. But I think it's great, and they're phenomenal live. You should definitely go see them. I give this 8 out of 10. It's it's a great album, and I am excited to listen to more of them. We have another Wednesday album. This is Rat Saw God. I believe this is the last album they had before they put out Bleeds. This album is not quite as strong for me as Bleeds. There are some good moments on it. The song Chosen to Deserve is really good. Bull Believer is a pretty good song. It's 7 minutes long. It's a little, it builds and stuff. But it's, I don't know, it doesn't always work for me. They still have this cool alt country indie rock combination going on. But just, I don't know, this crop of songs just didn't hit me as hard as Bleeds did, but in all fairness, Bleeds took me some time to warm up to, at least on some of the non-singles or whatever, what have you. So this might do the same as well. I intend to listen to it some more, but for now, I have it sitting at a 7 out of 10. I think it's good. I think it's worth your time. But yeah, not my favorite. And then we got one more Liquid Mike. This is Paul Bunyan's Slingshot. I believe this is the album that came out before Hell is an Airport. And you might notice that USPS is listed here as well because this is a re-recording. I prefer the You Can Live in Paradise Forever version. or You Can Live Forever in Paradise on Earth, excuse me. But this is still the same song, and just in a different key with better production, or more. I shouldn't say better. I should say more crisp production. It's this is one of those albums that still hasn't really pulled me in. But now that Beer Can and a Bouquet has, I'm thinking this might be next on the docket. So I would give this probably a 7 out of 10. Might be a little generous. Maybe 6.5 is fine for now, but 7's also good. Okay, we got one more left. Sorry to keep you so long. This is the newest album from Truck Violence, who I talked about previously. This is the Weather Vane Is My Body. This is their first album for the Flenser. It came out this year, and I listened to it maybe the day it came out, June 27th. Was that a Friday? It was a Saturday. Anyways, maybe the day after it came out. This is more of what they were giving us on Violence, but there are some differences for certain. The sort of, I talked about the vocals being sort of an acquired taste, and that kind of delivery style is not completely absent from this album, but it's much more sparse. He uses the vocal fry screams a lot more, and so in my opinion it does sort of lose its impact at parts because it's a bit overdone, meaning it's done a little bit too much, I guess. So there's that. Musically, I think there's a lot of cool stuff still going on. They're combining elements of noise rock, sludge metal, post-hardcore. A lot of the songs are heavy, I would say heavier, on the whole, than the previous one. The previous one had a lot of dynamic, I think, whereas this one still does, but I don't know, it doesn't quite work in the same exact way for me. I still enjoyed it a lot. I still think it's worth a listen or two. I would start with Violence for sure instead of this one. But yeah, I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10. I guess I just don't have much to say about it yet. I think that maybe it needs to percolate for a little bit longer. It wasn't as immediate for me as Violence was, but I think that I could grow to like this one a lot. So we'll give it some time. All right. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you got some cool recommendations for yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. And it will probably be 2 months late this time. Fuck it. Who cares?